Hello. Welcome back to week number 5. Are we week number 5?
Six.
Oh my gosh. I know. We are here at the Big Money Stylist podcast, and it's only number 6. So people have been asking me, like, where do I get it? How do I find it? Well, obviously, if you're listening to it, you've got it and you found it. But go back and listen to some of our other ones. You'll get a lot of amazing content each week. Last week's was aggressive.
It was aggressive.
Spicy.
It was a little aggressive.
But it was good. We like to keep it real. Like, I feel like sometimes when I listen to podcasts, it's very safe, and I want to just nudge it off the ledge just a little bit.
Oh, last week did that. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
Did we get a little nudging off the ledge, Johnny?
We jumped.
He was like, we
jumped right off.
Just jumped running.
We're like sayonara, see you later, off we go.
Peace out. So if you didn't hear that one, go back and check it out, and you can see what you think, See what you think. But specifically today, each week we have a different topic that we're covering. This week, so we kind of like circle throughout the month. We are on power, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
We are back on power.
Yes, ma'am. We are back on power. That means we've made the circuit.
Yes.
We've made it back around the circuit one full time. We started with the pilot. We went with power. We went to production. We went to profit. We went to protection, which protection was a fiery game. Then we went for protection, and we're back to power. So we're going to make the cycle again one more time. But to get us started, we do have an announcement. We have 2 announcements. One announcement is there's someone missing from the panel.
Oh, she's here in spirit.
Oh, well, Coach Ani, why is Coach Val gone?
Coach Val right now is currently inside the salon. We're filming on a bit of a different day, and she's like, I love you guys, but this is my happy place, and my clients come first, so they're in spirit.
And we're here actually recording this show early because why, Coach Ani? What's going on this week?
So pumped.
It's Christmas week for me, basically. It's BMS. We have 2 events that are 2 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's going to be so good.
2-day events.
What?
Danielle, how does it make you feel?
You know what? It's so funny because you're like Team BMS, which is Big Money Stylist, and Val is like Team DKW, which is like the hair side of things. And I genuinely love both. Like, I find balance in both. Like, I love being behind the chair. Like, I love the art of it. I love everything. And then I just like get a high off like teaching, and I love that. I just love it all. It's like such a good week for me when I can do both.
So we got both happening this week. We've got 50 artists. I believe 50 artists coming in this week. We have 25 individuals from our current mastermind are coming in for their repeat experience, and then we've got another 20 brand new artists coming in with 5 repeating on the Thursday, Friday of this week. All coming in to learn the unique method of natural beaded rose. And if you are unfamiliar with what we do here at Big Money Stylist, we are here to unleash the artist inside of you and take you from the slavery position behind the chair to a power position both in front of the chair and behind of the chair with a unique method we call natural beaded rose extensions created by the one and only the queen of extensions, Danielle K. White. We're going to just go over her camera angle and just
my name like all evil.
Danielle K. White.
Dun, dun, dun.
Sunday.
Are you a wrestler now?
Wrong
Welcome
podcast.
to the Royal Hair Extension Throwdown. No. All right, so we really started this particular show and the entire program at BigMoneyStylist.com to be able to lead artists to a place of power. We are not for everybody. If you're looking for a cheap little knockoff Redken color class, we are not your solution.
I like Redken, I gotta say.
I keep talking shit about Redken.
I know, don't talk shit about Redken because I really like Redken.
You love Redken.
I do. So,
all right, I don't know why I say this.
You do because I've only taken you to like 2 hair classes, and you don't. Garrett does not do hair.
No, that's true.
But
I do my own hair.
Yeah, but we've gone to some events and things, and I actually love Redken. I'm a big fan of Shades EQ, and I like a lot of their products, and so I brought Garrett with me to a few of their events, so it's his only point of reference. So if you're a Redken rep out there or a part of the Redken family, don't take offense to what he is saying. It is the only point of reference he has, and Garrett does huge events with thousands of men, and so when he comes to an event, he's kind of like, this is how they put on events, and I'm like, well, honey, it's a $500 event. It's not,
not even $500.
Yeah,
it was like a $49 bring 3 of your friends.
Totally.
Get it on a Groupon and bundle as many artists as you can into a small forward focus because it saves you money.
But stylists love it. So anyways, we are not talking
We're not talking shit about Redken.
I actually use Redken and very much enjoy it.
Well, there you go. I literally don't use Redken, but it appears that my wife does. And it appears that every artist on our team does, so I will begin to assimilate a new story. We'll find another product that we don't use, and we will use them in their color class as an example. BMS is a very intense program that is leading artists understand what it actually takes to create. It's not just posting social media pictures. It's not about getting fucking popular. It's ultimately about getting paid. And it's about ultimately getting to experience your art in the way that you originally got into the industry for in the first place. So we're going to start our topic off today.
Let's start this.
We're going to talk about power, but first we're going to define power again. So we're going to come over to Coach Ani. Coach Ani, give it to us. Although the camera, the way it's set up right now, I'm going to adjust it, makes you look like a very short woman. It's not that you're actually very tall as it is, but yeah, you're looking a little short. So I'm going to ask you power, and then I'm going to adjust the camera at the same time so we can get a little bit, for those watching, can get the full view of you, and it doesn't look like we got you from the chin up. All right, so what do you got here? Give it to us. What is power, and what's your experience with the topic of power when it comes to being an artist?
First off, I'll let you know that someone last night told me I looked like I was 5'5".
Oh.
It was Daniel. He's a liar, but I appreciated it because I'm only 5'1".
He was drinking.
Just give me that. Power itself is really just finding a place where you're able to move forward. And I feel like that's really what it is. You just find power inside your business to where you can make the hard decisions, because not every business decision's an easy one. Right. And it definitely requires a lot from you, but it's just finding a place where you can stand and move forward, I feel that's what it is to me.
Danielle, what would you add to this idea of power?
Power. I would say, from an artist standpoint, and I share this story all the time, when I got into hair, it was merely as a hobby because I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I found this place of power when I started to kind of discover my niche, and I was like, I'm pretty good at this. And even before I had started my brand or anything like that, I was like, I genuinely like this, and I feel like I kind of have a knack for it. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, wow, like, I had no idea if I would even like hair, and now I'm finding myself feeling in this place of power because I'm very proud of the way I do hair, and I'm feeling like I'm feeling like in a place of like power. And that's when I kind of evolved like the whole brand and things like that, and I was no longer a hobbyist. And for me, if I'm speaking on power from that standpoint of as a stylist, it's just like having a niche, owning my niche, and being good at your craft creates power.
You're owning your own shit.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got power as this topic that we're going to focus on today, but we're going to look at it from a couple different ways. First thing we're going to look at is power as you as a person, outside of what you do behind the chair and outside of what you do in front of the chair. Just like overall this idea of capacity. Now, let's assume that all artists are not created equal. They're not created equal, and they don't exist as equal. Now, we're really bringing on the idea that as an artist, you should be able to work 3 days a week and do multiple $100,000 a year as a producer. And we watch this happen. We see this happen. We know this is possible. We know that it occurs. And it's not somebody who lives in LA or Chicago or Florida or New York. You could live in these places in like major cities with huge traffic, or you could be in small Omaha, Nebraska, and you can pull this same thing off. And we've watched it happen. Our mission was to be able to empower women, particularly mothers who had children, to be able to build businesses that would give them the time and freedom to actually be at home still while still making full-time celebrity stylist type pay. But to do this requires you to think a little bit different and to think a little bit different about yourself. So we're going to start here about the belief about oneself and its impact on your ability to produce as an artist. Let's start behind the chair. So Danielle, I'm going to come to you first. Talk to me about how your belief systems have shifted from how you see yourself now to the way you saw yourself 10 years ago behind the chair. Just that difference between who you believe you are behind the chair, just as a woman and as a producer.
I think that in the beginning, even though I felt like I had a knack for hair and I was like, oh, I like this, there was kind of like a cap on what you could make, and there was a cap on what you could charge, and you had to physically move to another state in order to up your prices. And if you lived in a small town, or if you lived in wherever, you couldn't demand certain prices because that's just what they were, because you didn't have that power. And so for me, I experienced it firsthand. I remember when I moved from Salt Lake City to Arizona.
Gilbert.
Arizona. And I didn't know where Gilbert was. I thought that Scottsdale and Gilbert were the same thing. We only lived there for 2 years, but I joke around with my husband. I'm like, oh, Gilbert is really far out there. I had no idea. I mean, it just looked like a cute, family-friendly area. I had no idea. It literally was like 45 minutes from Scottsdale. And I had thought of when I lived at the time in Salt Lake City, Utah. I think we were actually in Sandy, Utah, which is a suburb of Salt Lake City, Utah. I thought, oh my God, well, we ultimately wanted to move to California. And I thought, oh, in California, then I've arrived, But I looked.
Then you'll be able to charge.
Then I can charge I can't charge this. And I can't, these celebrity stylists I'm seeing online, I can't charge $800 for a color. I can't charge $600 for a color because I live in Salt Lake City. And then I was like, I wanted to move to California, and I remember looking at like places to live, and I was like, well, honey, we cannot afford to live in California unless you want to live in a little tiny dinky apartment somewhere. Nothing against that, but we had 2 kids, and I was like, I don't want that for me right now. And so that's what drew me to look at Arizona, because I really just wanted to live somewhere sunny, and we were in a transitional time period of life where we had nothing to lose, and we needed to get out of Utah. And I remember thinking, okay, well, at least if I moved to Scottsdale, because that's, again, where I thought I was moving, because that's the only place I had been in Arizona, and it was nice, and I thought I would be able to charge more for sure than Sandy, Utah.
Right.
So I was like, oh, okay. So then we move there, and I'm like, oh my God, like, like people, like I was making actually more in Sandy, Utah than I was in Gilbert. And I was like, oh my God. And then I remember I actually drove into Scottsdale, interviewed at a salon. It was a very nice salon. I actually got offered the job. And I was like, gosh, that's going to be like a 30-minute commute or whatever. It wasn't even Scottsdale. It was Chandler. But it was nicer than Gilbert. It was a little closer to life. And so I was like, well, I'll just commute like 20, 30 minutes and then maybe I can charge more. And then I was like, it was always the story of like who I was, because I didn't have that power. And I remember I finally, like 2 days before I was supposed to start at this nicer salon where I felt like I could charge a little bit more in Arizona, I was like, a light bulb went on, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to charge what Sally Sue in the next studio suite over is charging either. So I'm gonna actually travel back to Utah, and I'm gonna do hair, and so that I have tons of before and after photos. And I had 2 young kids. I had a 6-month-old baby and how old is? Let's see, she was 4,
would have been like
and
4
a 4-year-old. And once a month, I was flying to Utah because sadly, my reality was I could not charge what I felt like I wanted to in Gilbert, Arizona, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to charge what I want. I don't care. I'm going to see if I can get Scottsdale people to come to me, but I have to have some pictures. I have to have something to post. I have to have something to market. And so I traveled for almost 2 years, like a year and a half straight to Utah once a month, and I did like these crazy 3 to 4 days straight where I just fit in so many clients, and I just was exhausted. And I just was like, well, I'd come back, and I'd always do it on like a weekend, so Garrett could kind of cover the kids, and I'd come back and I'd get all my pictures ready and get them all ready, and I would use that as my marketing, and it started to work, and it started to pick up, and it was crazy. It wasn't even that, it picked up quick. Within like 6 months, people from Scottsdale and people from like other states were calling me, and I'm collecting deposits over the phone with screaming children in the background in fucking Gilbert, Arizona. And I was like, this woman's flying in. I'm getting girls from Scottsdale driving in. This is insane. And I remember literally like saying, like, they're like, well, where is this? I'm like, it's just a cute little suburb. Like, it's just way out there. Just like, keep going. I mean, literally like phone's GPS was shutting off. And so, but it showed me the power of marketing. And I was like, gosh, that's so cool. Like, you don't have to say like, oh, I live here, I can't do it. And we educate, women and men. We have a couple men, but we have tons of stylists all over, and that's always an excuse they'll say is, well, I can't do that because I live here. And I'm like, how strong is your marketing? Who's putting that price tag on? You are putting that price tag on because you don't have that power.
Ani, what are you seeing from the same topic?
Well, yeah, exactly the same. And not only that, with stylists especially, we tend to say, oh, well, just nobody else charges that. Who gives a shit? I feel like there's always one person who's going to come outside of the box and outside of the unwritten rules of what you can and can't charge. And that's when they start charging something more, just like what you did. You started doing that in Gilbert, Arizona. And then people started saying, oh, wait, she did what? Yeah. Past the cow fields and the poop fields and everything like that. Like,
there were.
Yes, there were. And they're like, wait a minute, Danielle did it. If Danielle did it, I can do it. But I feel like it takes one person, just one person, to find their power and be like, fuck these rules. I'm not doing this. I'm going to make it up as I go. It doesn't matter. And that leads the way for other people. And that's what you did.
So we have this idea of power. We hear two examples of it, which is we're going to come back to Ani here in a second, and Coach Ani's going to give us a roll-down, throwdown of how from her studio suite she chose to make massive moves in her business, but how those moves first began inside of her own head. Because that's really the part of the story that I want you to understand and see, is that there's the shift that you see outside of yourself comes down to a shift that you first see inside of yourself. And it all comes down to the ability to answer one simple question, which is not who am I? But it's a question that's even easier and simpler than that, which is who do you believe yourself to be? See, all that changes when you go to a different environment. You say, if I go to LA, then I can charge X. If I go to this certification class, then I can charge Y. If I do this thing, then I can do this. If I use Redken color, Susie Q. Is that what it's called?
Susie Shadesy
Shadesy Q.
I'm like, I'm not Susie Q. Why are you looking at me?
Susie
Like,
Q.
Susie.
Shadesy Q. Shadesy Q. Again, offending the shit out of Redken every second I can.
Now they're laughing.
So inside of that, like as whatever it is that I'm doing, all of this begins with a shift in a story inside of you. And oftentimes that shift itself won't happen until you're mirrored back a new reality by individuals around you who show you what could be possible, which is exactly what the Big Money Stylist experience is. It's exactly what the MBR tribe is all about, is about mirroring back what can be possible. What started with Danielle has now become hundreds and hundreds of artists all over the globe. And when I say all over the globe, 3 countries: Canada, Norway, United States. And inside of those 3 countries, artists dominating in all kinds of different cities, all kinds of different sizes, eliminating the stories that they've held themselves shackled to, which is who I believe myself to be. Now, I'm going to come back to this more here in just a second, but I'm going to come to Coach Ani. Coach Ani, let's come back to the salon, the studio. You learn about MBR, and then you begin your MBR journey here a couple of years ago. Talk about the first shifts in your brain of going from traditional artist to extension specialist only and working specifically under the MBR method.
From when I took BMS, I took it May of 2016. I did not actually drop the rest of my clients, like all of my color clients and everything, until the very beginning of 2017. So really, when I think about it, it only took 6 months, but I was hustling because I was determined to make it work. But I remember when I first took the NBR class, and even stylists would come to me, they would say, well, teach me how to do it. I'm like, oh, I can't do that. Like, I sign contracts. I can't teach you. And they're like, well, who fucking cares? I'm like, oh, wait, I care. That's kind of super jacked up. Like, that's actually a problem for me morally. Don't like that. But even then, I immediately started to get backlash and kind of shit all over because I was saying, well, that's not okay. So that in itself started telling me like, ooh, this is going to be an issue. And I already saw it happening. So then when it came down to my business, it was really just trying to figure out what was I going to do? Because I was like, well, I hate doing kids cuts. I don't like doing men's cuts. Every grandma that comes in is fine. Still had one perm I was doing, but whatever, it's fine.
Nice. You love the perm.
Her name was Penny.
I know. I remember when I was like, does anyone do perms? And you were like, you gave me this death stare, and I was like, I feel like Ani does not do perms.
No, God, no, not anymore. But it was at that time in my business, I just wasn't happy with where I currently was. So it was, okay, I can keep doing this and keep slaving away and keep being unhappy, or I have to make a change. So one day I was like, well, fuck it. I'm not doing men's and kids. And at the time I was like, oh my God, you're insane. You're losing your mind. You're supposed to take on all the clients and all the services. You're supposed to do everything. What are you thinking? You're turning away money. But I was like, no. Don't think of it that way. You're opening space and time. I literally, every step of the way, I would tell myself, you're insane. It's a terrible idea. But then I'm like, no, wait. You're working to something bigger. What's the ultimate goal? What is the goal here? And I had to just I tell all our students, don't think of it as saying no to something. Don't think of it as saying no to clients and more money. Think of it as you're saying yes to more time, yes to more time in a small, or yes to more money in a smaller amount of time. You're working more efficiently. Yeah. So I feel like that's what I had to do, which is why I always say you're not saying no, you're just saying yes to a different set of circumstances. So along the way, the very first thing I did was drop my men's and kids cuts, and I was like, I'm doing it. I did it, and I was like, oh my God, this is working. This is crazy. I have more time. I'm getting more colors. And I'm like, oh shit. And then I'm like, okay, not doing women's cuts anymore. I'm like, screw those cuts. And then I was like, sorry, not doing it. And then I was like, oh shit, you've lost your mind. You're doing it again. Then I'm like, no, it's working. It's fine. And every step of the way, I kept seeing results. And I'm like, okay, you did it. It worked. Now, what do you have to do next? So by the time I hit 2017, I was like, colors are fun. I like doing them, but fuck that. I just want to do NBR. I was like, this is it. I'm doing it. I was like, I'm dropping my color clients. I'm like, oh my God, you're dropping your color clients? Are you insane? Like, what are you thinking? That is so much money. But I'm like, no, hold on. There's an ultimate goal here. You've been doing really well. And I knew every time I made a decision and I made a step, I'm like, you have to push harder. So it was, I feel like I kept putting myself in sink or swim. And I am not a sinker. I will always swim and make it work. And that's what I just kept doing. And it was the same with moving to California. You guys said, come here. And I was like, yay, it's fine. It doesn't matter that I bought a house 6 months ago. It's cool. It's totally fine. It doesn't matter. And at the time, I was like, you can't fucking do that. You cannot move to California. You're insane. You're working for yourself. You're making $20,000 a month. What are you fucking thinking? Then I'm like, well, if I were to do it, what would I need first? I'm like, a place to live would probably be a good idea. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. And same thing. I was like, fuck it, I'm doing it. I'm like, I don't know. I'm moving to California. I'll figure it out when I get there. And that's kind of what I kept doing. And it kept working, but I just had to tell myself, look at your end result. What do you actually want, as opposed to what I don't want to say sacrifice, because Garrett said it the other day, and that has resonated with me so much. I haven't sacrificed anything. I really haven't. And people can even say, well, you gave up your marriage. Okay, well, I let go of something that wasn't working. That's not sacrifice. That's just making another move. And that's how I keep seeing it. I haven't sacrificed shit. I've just let go of things that don't work.
Right.
And that's why I'm here now.
I think it's too, like, just listening to how, like, I think a lot of artists struggle with this where you're like, well, I can't say no to money. I have to cut this out. I have to cut this out. And it's so hard. And I'll even say to those, like, you know, who are very well producing in the industry of being a stylist, it's hard at every level, because I think we don't want to say no to money. So what I find with high producing stylists is they create what I call the factory. The factory.
Yeah.
And I find myself even getting to that place where I'm like shuffling clients in, and I'm like, I don't really like doing that. And I don't think the client really likes, I don't really think the client, like they might say like, well, I'll deal with it because I want to go to this particular salon, but they don't like it.
No.
And so for me, even though like I've been doing just MBR and color for years, but for me, I still had to come to that same level of like saying no to money and raising the bar for myself as far as pricing and experience and quality that I was giving to my clients. Because I felt in the beginning, I felt like I was saying no to money. I'm like, oh my God, I have a client who wants to pay me like $2,000 to do her hair, and I'm telling her no. You know what I mean? And then that's where I'm like, no, this is how I want to. I don't double book at my salon. I do like an overlap.
Yeah.
And it's just there's just slightly overlapped with each client. I book a full set of extensions and color every 2 hours. And I mean, I'm fast because I've been doing it for a bit, and I always feel like I can genuinely connect with each client. Like I do most of the color, I do all of the extensions, and I like the experience of the client coming in and feeling like, it's not like we have to sit there and talk the whole time. Do you know what I mean? But I think somewhere along the lines that even high producing stylists lose that connection, and you need to value yourself more in like who you are and why that particular client is coming to you, and give them that experience. And if that means saying no to money and raising your bar there, that's something that also needs to be done so that you're back in a powerful place inside of your own business.
Well, and even when it comes back to power, I know that you stopped working weekends because you were like, turns out, don't want to work weekends. And I was like, oh my God, she's crazy. And then Val didn't want to work Saturdays anymore. And one day she was like, I don't want to work Saturdays. You're like, well, stop working Saturdays. Yeah. And she's like, what? And I still remember that, because then I was sitting there and I'm like, oh God, Saturdays are the worst. Right. But as stylists, you're told, well, you have to work Saturdays. Right. That's when everybody's off work. Well, I make time to go see my doctor during normal work hours. Why can't someone make time to come see me? So when Val stopped doing Saturdays, I'm like, son of a bitch, Danielle did it, Val did it. I'm like, wait a minute. If they can do it, that means I can do it. Right. And I had to, it was not easy to tell people, oh, I'm sorry, I don't work Saturdays. They're like, but do you work Sunday? I'm like, do you work Sunday? Nope. Interesting. Me either. So.
And we do have stylists that work Saturdays at DKW Styling. Mm-hmm. However, it's kind of like, hey, build up your books. And then when you get to a place where you're like, okay, I'm good, migrate your clients to where you want to be, because you have that you have that ability to do so. And then you can, even if you are working Saturdays and you're a stylist, that you build up and you do what you need to do to get kind of clients in, and then maybe merge them, say, I'm no longer working Saturdays. If they love you and connect with you based on the experience and the quality of work that they're getting, and you tell them you're not working Saturdays anymore, I guarantee you they're going to move over. And in the beginning, it's kind of this role between the client and the stylist of like give and take, and it should be a relationship in which both parties want to be in. So I'm not sure why I went over to that side of things, but
I like where this show has gone. And literally for like 10 minutes, I was quiet. And some of you were very excited about this, including all the Redken reps who were like, fine, this asshole's not talking shit about our brand anymore. I apologize. Forgive me. All right, so we've got this power topic that's being brought up. And what I want to paint for you to really see and hear, and what you've been hearing from Coach Ani as well as Danielle, is this following reality, which is there is a shift that happens in what you tolerate. Right? And that's what we're hearing is a shift in what you tolerate. Your life and your business does not become anything more than what you tolerate. Nothing more. It will never rise above what you tolerate. And there's a toleration level that comes with how women and artists inside of this game are treating themselves. What they have determined is the right thing to do. What they have determined is the acceptable process or modus operandi. What is, quote unquote, artistically correct inside of this artist. We can call it the politically correct, artistically correct genre. And so there's this shift that goes in what you tolerate. And we're going to come back. I'm going to come back to Coach Ani and Coach and Danielle here with this topic then around like this toleration factor, because they both got to a point where they just refused to tolerate the game anymore the way it was. And particularly, they've refused to tolerate not growing. That there was a choice to grow. And there are artists that are in the game, and I have to start with Coach Ani and tell the tale of Sally Sue, or whoever she was, been doing hair for like 35,000 years, and still charging exactly what she was charging like 20 years ago. We're going to start there, and then we're going to come to Danielle, and then Danielle's going to step out of the show. She's got to go handle some stuff. And me and Ani are going to continue down the show and take it down. We're going to go from 4 to 3 down to 2. And who knows, you might not even get lucky. Ani might leave, and I just might keep going. And then you're going to be with me, and I'm just going to make up stories about Redken.
Oh, no.
All right, so this game of toleration... Talk about it. Are you both clear about what I'm talking about here?
Yes.
Okay, so Coach Ani, let's start with you. Toleration, share the story of Sally Sue, whatever her name was at the salon, and this whole idea of how an artist is only as limited as they tolerate certain conditions in their life.
I mean, that's really what it is. That stylists, we're given us almost a set of rules when we leave cosmetology school that they're never written down. People say, oh, that's just how it is. That's just what it is. And so when I started doing NBR, even there, and stylists were like, well, teach me, show me. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Like, it's against the rules. I'm not a rule breaker. So there's that, I guess. But I simply just wouldn't do it. And I got so much negative backlash over that. And then the interesting part was, and these were people that were supposed to be friends of mine. I had known them probably 5-6 years at this point. And then at that point, I started to raise my prices and charge a little more and charge a little more. At this point, I'm charging like $1,000, $1,200 for extensions, which I came from St. Louis, Missouri. That's unheard of. You don't pay that there because it's St. Louis and you just don't pay it there. And someone found out that I was charging that, and the shit talking was outrageous. They're like, can you believe Ani's charging that? She's never going to make it. She's going to get no clients. And I'm like, you want to fucking watch me build my clientele? Okay.
Poor Ani.
It's going to be fine. I got this. But it was even that. I just wasn't going to stand for it. And you know what? Even at that point, it was fuck everybody else. I don't care what anybody said. It wasn't about that. It was me, and it was always me. I wasn't happy where I was. And I feel like Garrett said earlier, when you see that something else is possible, that's when you're like, wait a minute. There's something more. And for me, that's when I came to BMS for the first time. We do something I call it the Vision Quest, where we sit on the beach and you just envision your life a year from then. What do you want it to be? And I've said from the beginning, I wanted to be a trainer for BMS. I had no idea why. I just knew like this was my calling. It's where I was supposed to be. And I'm like, a year from now, I'm going to be here. They're not hiring. I don't even know if they're going to keep doing it. They're not expanding, but God damn it, I'm going to fucking be there. That's all that I knew. And so I just kept pushing forward and being like, okay, well, this isn't working for me. It's not getting me to where I am. So And we always say, like, who do I have to become? What is the next step? Who am I going to be next to be able to do this? Well, I can't move to California and be a trainer for BMS if I'm still doing perms. Like, I was not going to be accepted into DKW that way. So I just knew I had to keep making the steps. But
you're not given opportunities until you're ready, and you're not going to be ready unless you do the steps to get there.
You have to, I feel, give in a little and realize that there is something else. There's something more. But if you get so stuck in the same story of, well, nobody else does it, well, who gives a shit? At some point, no one was on the moon either, but they decided that was a possibility. So I feel like we have to like let go a little bit and just imagine something better for your life.
Yeah. I think people just settle in too much. And then, like, how boring is that? You're like, well, this is it for me.
Change is scary. It's terrifying. That's the problem.
It's only scary like the first few times, though. I feel like once you start evolving, you're like, when you're stagnant, you're like, oh my God, we're going nowhere. Like, I'm surrendering that this is it. Like, no, like you kind of get to this place where you're like, sky's the limit. Like, I'm successful, but like, who else could I impact? What's next? Like, where else could this go? Like, there's always a road going up.
So why do you think so many artists tolerate just such sacrificial behavior where they sweat and they become slaves to their clients? Why do you think this is such a deal?
I think that we all kind of get to that place in the beginning. We start and we're like, it's not a sacrifice. Like, I'm making good money and things are good and I'm fine. Like, you feel like that, but I know for me, like, I always get to this place, even now, like, I get to this place where I call it like burnout zone. And I'm like, I don't care how much fucking money I'm making. This isn't fun at all. Like, I don't want to burn out anymore.
Well, and I think stylists, they think they're making good money because we never
They don't know
look
any
at
different.
numbers.
They don't know any different. Yeah.
Because they're like, I spent 13 hours behind the chair today. Yeah. How long were you behind the chair? Oh, 6? You must be poor.
Yes,
okay.
That is true. Like, I tell people all the time, I'm like, I take 6 clients a week, and they're all, oh, you can't get enough leads? I'm like, yeah, that's why.
That's all I can do,
Dang
I guess.
it. Maybe next lifetime I'll figure. No, I kind of like, I set my boundaries, because again, I would even with like doing hair extensions, I went into the game of like, factory, no saying more to money, no saying no to money. Like, this is how it has to be. This is how everyone else is doing it. This is what I need to do. And then I would get to this place of like burnout, and I was like, no, I don't want to be there. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I love hair. I want to be in the game, but I'm going to set my own rules, and I'm going to just create my own path here. And that's why I was like, cool. I know I want to do 6 clients a week.
Mm-hmm. I was doing 9, and when our students turn in their numbers to me, they're like, I did 36 clients this week. I'm like, I don't know 36 people in my life. I'm like, oh, fuck that. I see that number, and I'm like, that is such a big number of people you had to service all week long. That's exhausting.
Nope.
The crazy part of this is that you begin to tolerate shitty service. Like, the entire industry has been built to teach you to go to powerlessness. It's taught you to go to a place where you tolerate so much bullshit from what other stylists, other artists, and even your clients believe you should be up to, that you start to not listen to your own voice. And that's the highest form of dysfunction inside of the game as a business person and as an artist, is to be in a place in which you don't actually listen to your own voice anymore. You listen to the voice of the client. The client dictates the direction. The client dictates where you're supposed to go. And as the power of the client rises, because you as a desperate person searching and starving and hungering and longing to find the answer, as you find yourself in this place, you end up being stuck in a situation in which you tolerate bullshit. You tolerate a life that doesn't work. You tolerate a business that doesn't work. You tolerate experiencing clients in a way that doesn't work. You tolerate doing work that doesn't work. Now, Danielle is literally escaping the studio. Shout out, bye-bye. Shout out, bye-bye.
Oh, bye.
Yay, Danielle's gone. All right, now we can talk about some real shit. All right, so, Ani, let's come to you. Talk to me about this idea of reversing the frame on a client is the prize versus you are the prize as the artist.
I recognize that in my own business, because before I came to BMS, I was at, honestly, the beck and call of all of my clients. They would say, when can I get in? I'm like, Thursday, 3 p.m. They're like, how about Saturday, 7 a.m.? I'm like, yeah, I would love to come in Saturday, 7 a.m. But I did it because it was a client and it was money, and because they knew clients know you want them in your chair. They know they're money to you.
Right.
So at that point, it's like when you're dating someone and you know they're way more into you than you are them, and you're the prize. You're like, fuck you, whatever. You can do whatever you want because they're going to keep running back. That's exactly what it was. The clients knew we would bend over backwards to make them happy because we wanted them in our chair. So when I started to change my business to be more NBR, I'm not going to say I'm a Nazi when I'm behind the chair, but if you're late, so help me God, I don't like tardiness. It's like a hot button issue for me.
It's like you think.
Oh, it's my thing. I don't do lateness, which our students tomorrow, I released an email. I'm like, so help me God, if you're late the first day, that's a terrible first foot to start on. So don't you dare do it. But But even then, clients, they'll show up 10, 15, 20 minutes late. And the worst is when they stroll up, they're like, oh my God, traffic was terrible. And they have Starbucks and McDonald's. You're like, motherfucker, like, you're late because you were getting food. So they don't care because they know at the end of the day, you're going to make, at the time, $100, $125. And they're like, it's a hairstylist. They're super poor. They need my money. So they don't care how late they are. So when I started doing more NBR and really just switching the frame of, fuck that, you don't have to sit in my chair because I might not allow you to sit in my chair. They were now applying literally an application for me to allow them to sit there. The role started to reverse. I put my foot down on being late. I'm like, 15 minutes, your appointment's canceled. I don't care, you're out. And let me tell you, that happens once to someone, they're never late again. So I was so strict on it, and they knew I was a total Nazi about it because I hate that. But they started, I feel, to not only respect me and my time more, but the service more as well, because they knew, no, I'm not going to let you walk all over me. You're not going to show up whenever you fucking feel like it. There are rules to be here and sit in my chair. Here are the rules of engagement. Given I have respect for them as well. I don't treat them like shit, but I feel it was more of a mutual relationship. Two people who want to be together as opposed to one needing someone and one wanting to be there.
So this reframe that we're talking about, and that's literally what we're talking about. We're talking about a total reframe. So we discussed the idea of you being able to create, as an artist, the prize around you. So first we have to understand what frames are. Frames are the picture through which we see the world. We can call these a worldview. We can call these a perspective. We can call them a paradigm. You were trained as an artist to believe and tolerate something inside of your world that is killing your power. And that is simply this, that the client is the prize and that you are the tool. The client is the prize and you are the tool. Now, when you operate from that frame and you believe that is true, when you believe that is the case, then your life itself becomes the following, which is, how do I jump through hoops to please the prize so I can win the game and win the prize? And you become desperate and you become needy and you become Mr. or Mrs. Johnny on the spot, change everything in a drop. Whatever ends up happening for you is what I will do. Now, the reverse of this is completely changing the frame and saying, okay, no, you're not the prize, although I value you. I'm the artist delivering the art. You are the consumer of the art. I actually create the frame into which I choose if you have qualified to play the game. Now, Ani, I started introducing this to you when you first came into BMS. What were your thoughts initially on this when we started talking about reframing this whole game with the client?
I loved the idea. I'm like, that's never going to work. I'm like, okay, you want me to have people go online and fill out a form to sit in my chair? I'm like, you're fucking crazy. No one's going to do that. And then as I started marketing more, and I was the student that Garrett said jump. I'm like, how high? I already jumped 15 times. You need me to do it again? Like,
yes.
That was me because I became obsessed with it, which I'm still obsessed to this day, and I love it all. But it was just, as it slowly started to work and people actually were applying to sit in my chair, I'm like, holy shit. And it wasn't just like they put their name and email. They had to watch a video, watch a second video, fill out a form, even put pictures of themselves, and then watch a third video. I mean, they had to go through a process just to sit in my chair. And then they still had to talk to me, by the way. And if I allowed it, then they could come sit in my chair because some people are crazy and didn't want those with me either. So it was just insane. But I realized I was enjoying work more at that point.
Yeah.
My clients were better. They were happier. I was happier. And when you're happy behind the chair as opposed to burnout mode, your work improves. You're not begrudgingly doing their hair thinking, well, fuck you and your highlight. You're not paying me enough. All that went out the window.
So we have this shift, not only in toleration for yourself, but crazy enough, you actually are giving the gift to the client by shifting the frame, because the client wants to be led, But most artists are not leading. And they're not leading because they put the leadership role on the client's head. If the client knew how to lead themselves out of a bucket with color, if a client knew how to put their own extensions in, if a client knew how to cut their own hair, they wouldn't be coming to you. They're coming to you because you have an art. They're coming to you because you have a skill. They're coming to you because you give and provide something that they cannot get somewhere else. So as you begin to position the value of it by reframing the conversation and saying, no, listen, you're going to come to me on my terms because I'm the artist. I am exchanging the value with you for money. I give you the art, you pay me for the art. The only way that's going to work is if I can actually deliver the high quality art that I know I can deliver by only working with the clients that I know I can deliver the art on. All palettes are not created equal. All clients are not created equal. You cannot possibly be the right match for every woman, man, or child on the planet. And in our case, any woman who wants to get NBR. Not all women are a fit. Not all people in the equation. Some people's energy is fucking crazy. But the piece that has to get in check the most is the placement of the power back onto you. So share with me, how has it changed your feeling about yourself, knowing, like, when you went to this model of putting the commitment back into your hands, the toleration of being led around like a bull by the nose, but the little ring, like all this change, and you decided to say, okay, listen, I'm going to take a stand, and I'm going to lead my clients, and I'm going to reframe the way this game is working. Talk to me about what you started feeling power-wise and energy-wise and confidence-wise and enjoyment-wise when you'd start walking into the salon every day knowing you were coming into a list of clients who would apply to be there, not a bunch of clients that were going to bitch and moan about the Groupon deal they were trying to get.
Well, I think the crazy, as you say that, it's funny because so many stylists, I know every single person, any artist listening to this can go through and think of a client off the top of their head that the minute you see their name on your book, you start sweating and you're like, oh God, it's her, it's Sally. Oh God, she's such a bitch every time. She stresses me out. She makes me sweat. And those people ruin your entire day. They ruin your day in the beginning because you're dreading their appointment. Their appointment is terrible, and then you're still stressed the fuck out afterwards because you're like, that was the worst. They may have only been there for 30 minutes, but it's literally ruined a 12-hour day for you. I never had that anymore. There was no client where I was like, oh God, it's her. Oh Lord, help me. And even then I felt I'm really big on energy. Like I feel people's energy a lot and it just soaks up in a room. But I found that going into my suite at that point, it wasn't heavy to me anymore. It was just a happier place to be. And I loved that. And I feel like the more power I found in my business, it didn't just stay within my business, it bled into my life. So even down to like the relationship I was in or my friends, like the power I found within myself to be in power in my business and to lead my clients started bleeding everywhere else. And then I just kept growing with the rest of my life too.
So this shift begins to change how you feel. It changes what you see. And it ultimately changes what you do. And when you change what you see and change what you feel and change what you do, what you have begins to change also. And so as we come to kind of a conclusion of this show, we're gonna hit on a little idea, which is this. There are some things that you are tolerating that need to become intolerable to you. Ani, when you were first getting into this change for you, what were some of the things that were tolerable for you? You were willing to tolerate them, but you began to shift your tolerance with them and say, this is no longer happening.
With clients, the tardiness always irritated me. And I'd be like, oh, they're 15 minutes late. She's such a bitch. But yeah, okay, fuck it. It's money. I'll do it. That was the biggest thing with clients or like even I went on a vacation to Italy once. My client called me. I'm literally climbing a cliff in Italy. And she's like, where are you? I need my extensions tightened. I'm like, I'm in Cinque Terre. I'm in Italy. She's like, well, okay, can you get me in on Thursday? I'm like, I'll be in France. And she's like, you're on vacation? I'm like, you fucking asshole. I've been planning this for a year. Literally yelling at me on vacation. I can't even believe I answered the fucking phone, to be honest.
Right.
Like, even that.
That's what I was asking. I was like, why are you answering the phone on vacation?
I don't know what I was thinking. I, at that point, was still a slave. I'm like, I don't know. Client calls, you just answer. Even things like that. And then that once, like I said, it bled into my real life, my personal life. And even in the relationship, I was tolerating things that, hindsight's 20/20 now. But I look back, I'm like, I can't believe you fucking did that. Like, how could you ever stand for that? And eventually I was like, this doesn't work for me anymore. I'm out. This isn't working. And it just kept taking me to be a new person every time, which I think is something beautiful and wonderful because you can't stay the same. Your business can't stay the same. Your clients won't stay the same. Everything grows and changes, and it's something you should accept and be happy about and just keep moving forward with.
So your world, we've talked about two really big things today. We've discussed and looked at this idea of power, and Danielle and Coach Ani have been taking us down this path of power. We've been discussing this idea inside of it, that your power, it comes and is drained from what you tolerate. It's obtained by what you commit to, and it's drained from what you tolerate. Here's what I tolerate. My life cannot become more than what I tolerate. Inside of that place, we looked at the reframing possibility of changing the way you see yourself as going from the one who is pursuing the prize to the one who is the prize, and the client is pursuing you. And that comes down to marketing. And that comes down to production, which we're going to talk about next week again. But for today, we're going to summarize with this challenge, which is what are the top 5 things that you are tolerating inside of your current hair business, behind the chair, in front of the chair, that if you got rid of these 5 tolerable items, became intolerable, your business would completely explode. Now, Coach Ani, you have seen this game shift for clients inside of Big Money Stylists, the mastermind, and our programs and our events. We're going to see, we're going to see a whole bunch. I just turned off some lights. You're totally in the dark, but we're still recording. It looks fantastic. You're like literally you're like a dark creature.
Just like my soul. I got it.
Your soul is dark. We're going to end it. We're going to end it with no lights. I just turned off one of the backlights. It's all right. We're going to keep going because it looks kind of cool. All right, give it to us. Like, what have you seen happen with students that begin to shift from this place of tolerating to this game of not tolerating? And what have you noticed happen in their power as well as their production?
I can even talk about one of our students who's the nicest, sweetest person I've ever met. And not to be that guy, but honestly, she was a walking doormat to all of her clients. They would show up whenever they wanted, do whatever they wanted, and she would allow it every single time until one day she was like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm not doing that anymore. And she started to put her foot down, and it took her about 1.5 years, and she actually just opened up her own salon because her business kept growing. She kept dropping clients she didn't want to do, services she didn't want to do, but her life, it kept getting better. She kept seeing more and more results and realized like the more power she took and the less bullshit she took from people that she really didn't even like one of her clients invited themselves to her wedding and then didn't even show up. So that was a cool one.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And even now, I talked to her just actually this morning, and she said, I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. She goes, I finally feel set in my place in life. She's like, I have my salon. It's the very first NBR only boutique by any of our students. So yes. Props to her. But she said it. She said, I am where I'm supposed to be. She goes, finally, I have a sense of peace. And that's what she got from letting go of bullshit, finding her own power, and putting her foot down for the first time in her life. She found peace. So what would you not give to have that sense of calm in your life every day?
This is the beauty. This is the beauty of the game. Like across the board, is the opportunity to create a business and create a life that actually matters to you. To have a business that you want to go to every day with clients that you want to go to have a game and a creation inside of your artistic place. You not only get paid what you're worth, but you also have the space to enjoy your life outside of what you do in the business. And that's what we stand for here. And that's what we're doing this week. The week we're recording this podcast, we have 50 students coming in. This is not a cheap class. It's a $4,000 investment per ticket to come, with 50 students coming in this week into our Big Money Stylist programs. And people say, oh, it's this, it's that. But at the end of the day, the reason individuals come is because of the results that are inevitable and inarguable here at Big Money Stylist, a program that we launched almost 18 months ago and really took off with here about 7 months ago and decided to get serious with it, to start building a motion, a commotion, and a movement about change. Now, Coach Ani, final thoughts here as we wrap up today's show. What are your feelings and thoughts as you come in knowing that half of these students are going to be repeats, meaning they're individuals for the first time coming to, that'll be their second event with us, but they will have already come to BMS convention. Now they're coming to BMS 2-day intensive. But then we have another 25 coming in that are brand new. This is their very first experience. They've never done anything inside of the BMS family. This is a big fucking week. Great week. Talk to me about what your thoughts are as a trainer and a coach as you sit outside the night before we begin a 4-day run with these students.
Well, I've said before, I feel like it's Christmas for me because these weeks for me, the other Coach Val actually texted me this morning. She's like, it's your birthday and BMS week. And she goes, which one's better? It's Christmas. I'm like, it doesn't matter. This is all great. But it's insane to think that half of the people are starting exactly where I started a year and a half ago. And then the other half, they're already 2 months in, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for our program, it's so intense. This is still going to blow their mind because we're like, okay, they're coming in. They've already done some shit. It's time to up the game again. Let's change this shit and really put them under pressure, which we have. And they're really stepping up and I like it. But this is game changing every time. And even a student just came out this morning and she's like, Ani, number one, you taught my 4-year-old how to say fuck, so can't play your videos anymore. I was like,
well done, well done.
Sorry about that, Elizabeth. That's my bad. But even then she's like, she goes, I've been sitting as a wallflower. She's like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to start talking. But they're coming out of their shell and opening up more and finding a place that's safe and amazing. And that's what I love about it. This isn't just a class, it's a family and a community we're building, and it's only getting bigger. And that just, I love it.
NBR Job is the name we have for it. You'll see with huge, big lights and big signs sitting on all of our stages at our main events, including all of the big Money Stylist conventions coming up this year, which we have 3 with 300 artists per event, as well as all of our classes. And if you're looking to be part of one of our intense experiences, we'd love to have you. We've got a couple seats left here for the spring of 2018 before we roll into the summer games. You can head over to bigmoneystylist.com. Check that over there. Watch that short movie if you feel inclined and feel connected to it. We'd love to take your application on and have you sit down in a conversation with Coach Ani or Coach Val and see if coming to the Big Money Stylist Intensive is a right fit for you, your future, your family, and your business. Thanks so much for being here this week. Again, our 2 big focuses inside of Power today were about reframing yourself around being the prize versus the one who is pursuing. And the second piece is looking at the game of what you tolerate, that your income and your business and your entire life is a function of what you tolerate. And if you don't like what you see, it's time to stop tolerating some of the bullshit you've been tolerating. And the challenge we gave you was to look up and say, what are the top 5 challenges or obstacles inside of my world that I've been tolerating? The behaviors of my clients, the behaviors of myself that have been tolerating, that if I changed them, shit would change faster. Thank you so much for being here this week. Next week, we'll be back with all of the team. Myself, Coach Ani, Coach Val, and Danielle, all 4 of us back into the game as we move into production. And we're going to move next week into a topic of sales and actually the ability of how do I persuade and ultimately sell once I create all of these powerful consultations. So thanks so much for being here. My name is Garrett J. White. I am one of your co-hosts here on the Big Money Stylist Show and one of the trainers inside of the Big Money Stylist game. And Coach Ani, wave it up because the camera's on you now. And give us our final words here, Ani, as we wrap up today's show.
Power can be something scary, but it's something you should own because it's a beautiful thing.
And we're going to end on that. Thank you so much for being here this week. We look forward to having you next week again for all of the show notes, tips, tricks, and action guides for this week's show. And for all the rest of the shows, pick them up for free with a simple email opt-in by heading on over to bigmoneystylistnow.com. Also would love a review and a subscription in iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. Pick your platform and off you go. My friends, thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next week as we dive deeper into the conversation of production as an artist, particularly with the conversation of selling and persuasion. We're out.